here, that talks about, if you can see this, strengths that we're taught to admire are these people that are like climbing on top of mountains. But oftentimes people like us are, just climbing up out of a hole, and we have to celebrate that too. So I like that cartoon. So as I mentioned, my name is Christie Cox, and many of you know me as the author of Holding It All Together When You're Hypermobile, which is a kind of a basic EDS guide to help people get started on the journey of getting diagnosed and finding some solutions. And I also suffer with hypermobile EDS, POTS, CCI, the alphabet soup. And for me, it came about when my bowling ball head was, hyperextending my neck and then caused my skull to slide off my spine more than the 5 millimeter mark. And so I found some resources, found some nonprofits, found some really good doctors to take care of me. And I've developed a set of kind of daily healing habits that I believe, help keep me together. And I'm sorry, I'm just monitoring the chat and people coming in, so welcome. So one of the things that about dealing with dis-ease is, that concept of being dissed, like being disrespected. What does it kind of mean in our culture, like being dissed? It's part of that word dis, which means the opposite of whatever word it's attached to. So with that definition, dis-ease is that state of illness or being unwell or having chronic pain, stress, and, struggling. And sometimes we're in a physical or mental state of disease or where we're not at ease, or even like dysfunctional, where we have a lack of function. And for example, if you have POTS like me, you're in a state of, dysautonomia, where your autonomic system is dysregulated. So what we're going to talk about today is maybe how to change that a little bit and put a little bit of fun back in dysfunctional. So the challenges of, dealing with disease, as many of you know, are many. And sometimes it can mean you might be dismissed by a medical doctor, uh, medically gaslit, as it's coined today. Many times you're also disbelieved by people like your loved ones, your friends, that they think this is all in your head, you're making it up for attention. And, I don't know who would make up chronic pain and illness for attention, but it's part of the cycle of what happens to people with rare disease, unfortunately. And it's happened to me with my own family of origin. And the other thing is we get this sense of being like disabled, like we lose our abilities. I mean, maybe we need mobility aids, maybe we're facing, like grief from that loss of our capabilities. And, there's something that is just eating away at us because we can't do what we sort of had planned for our life, whether we're younger or older when we're impacted. But, there's this, loss that's really hard to cope with. Oftentimes that can lead to feeling disgruntled. Um, I mean, it is really hard, and you get medical burnout from trying to navigate a complex medical system. And, here in the US, it's not necessarily about being well, it's about being ill. And, it's about sickness and money and how the systems can make more of it. So it's not set out to our advantage. So you really have to learn to self advocate and to self manage yourself to be able to get through, being dissed. I personally have struggled with this for nearly 20 years. It took me 17 to get diagnosed, which was 5 years ago. And I've kind of dedicated my time and my energy to hypermobile EDS patient advocacy to help myself and to help others and to teach future generations, and improve the actual care that's in healthcare. Because, there's a couple of things you can do when you're an advocate is you can improve the care that patients receive, or you can impact the cost. So today I want to talk to you about a few tactics that you can do to improve your own care, some things that are kind of within your control, which is really challenging because so much of this is out of your control. So to me, being DISS'd always meant, desperately, I seek solutions. I was always frantically searching the internet or books or talking to doctors, watching videos, trying to figure out what were these crazy symptoms that were across different, parts of my body and impacting things. And, you get told, oh, it's, Epstein-Barr, or it's autoimmune, or, thyroid problem. You're just like chasing this mystery. And until you come to learn about EDS, a lot of pieces don't connect. A lot of pieces don't get put together. So, there's this desperate search for solutions. And I believe, you can find a way to turn the table and change the game and calm down that desperate search to be able to calm down your own body, your own mind, and your own system to allow healing to actually start to begin. Because did you know that your body cannot heal when it is in that state of fight or flight in constant overdrive? It just doesn't have the capacity to work on the rejuvenation part when it's in constant control, attack, prevention mode. So, one of the things that you really need to do is to learn to calm. So, we're going to talk today about a few mindful methods to kind of reduce this autonomic hyperreactivity. And we're going to do some polyvagal exercises. And so, you may know that polyvagal theory originated with Stephen Porges. And the concept is simple it's forcing a way to disrupt and self regulate your nervous system by kicking it into parasympathetic mode out of sympathetic mode. And this system, called the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS, is absolutely automatic in your body and completely out of your control. But with this theory, I question, is it? Polyvagal theory and vagus nerve exercises say no. So we're going to go through today and learn a few simple techniques of how to kick that on, and let's give it a shot. So one of the things that we can do is to disrupt our system. And this is how we self-regulate and create peace. And this takes a great deal of discipline. And in today's highly distracted world, we're in this constant state of stress, dealing with traffic and to-do lists and errands and doctor appointments and, children and jobs and not feeling good. And, it's this, bombarded by notifications and hyper arousal that can really cause a disturbance to our autonomic reactions. It's like we need a digital detox. But doing things for our vagus nerve can help you activate that parasympathetic system. And so it gives you the ability, excuse me, to turn on your body's own ability to heal. It's kind of like the on and off switch to activating that autonomic nervous system in a good way. So, your vagus nerve, as you may know, is a sensory nerve that starts at the base of your brain and travels down each side of your neck through your stomach and abdomen, energizes your heart and lungs, connects your neck, throat, ear, and face muscles. And it's kind of a master control of a lot of systems in your body, that particularly the systems like respiratory, heart rate, breathing, things that you don't ever thankfully have to think about. Gosh, imagine if you had to say, okay, heartbeat, okay, a heartbeat again, or breathe in, out. Gosh, we'd be exhausted. But in order to activate any of the organs that are innervated by this vagus nerve, we can find ways to stimulate it. And these are things, like for the brain, if we can do that, it can help calm inflammation and control anxiety. Um, in the ears, it can help ease, some of the tinnitus. In the eyes, which, the pupils shrink to make eye contact and promotes like a social connection and safety. So, if we could imagine turning these things on with our vagus nerve and be able to like have a better connection. Also, the larynx, which feeds your lungs and diaphragm with oxygen, your stomach, which stimulates healthy digestion and intestines to move waste through your body, and your heart, which controls, of course, circulation, blood pressure, and your heart rate, which, if you have POTS, can be really off kilter. And stimulating your vagus nerve, can help your kidneys and your immune system kind of better regulate inflammation and turn on the production of proteins that fuel this inflammatory response to calm down. So today we're going to go through like top 10 tricks to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And it's a way to dismantle your nerves. And you're welcome to take a screenshot of this. I'm going to record it and share it later. But number one is to chill out. And what I mean by this is a way to stimulate your vagus nerve with simply cold water, and it can improve your vagal tone. So think about tactics like splashing cold water on your face or your neck, or maybe hold, some ice or a Ziploc bag full of some ice or cold water, against your neck or your face for maybe 30 seconds. It's a little bit of a shock to the system. It kicks it on. You could also drink cold fluids. If you can handle it, take a cold shower, or maybe at the end of your regular shower every day, finish with about 30 seconds of like cooler water. It doesn't have to be ice cold, but it's a little bit of a like almost a wake up call. But this cold exposure can activate your parasympathetic nervous system because it causes your blood vessels to dilate. And research on the effects of cold on the blood vessels found that it increases your blood flow to your body, to your brain, warms the tissue, enhances nerve behavior, and turns on this relaxation response. And if you've ever heard of the Wim Hof method, it's a guy who's infamous for, like plunging into ice cold as a mechanism of staying young and healthy. So there's definitely something to it. And you don't have to go, be a polar bear. You could simply like take a cold cloth and put it on your face, particularly in the heat of summer. Number two is humming, singing, or chanting. And because your vagus nerve passes through your vocal cords into your inner ear, these vibrations of sound, singing, humming, it can also stimulate your vagus nerve because it engages it through your throat and your diaphragm and even down through your heart. And one study showed that this, singing, simple singing in the car, wherever you are, increases your heart rate variability called HRV. You may have heard of HRV, and it serves as an important measure of your parasympathetic tone, which is your ability to activate like that parasympathetic state. So, if you're not into meditation and chanting or singing in the shower, another tactic that you can try is to hum VOO for as long as you can. So when I say VOO, I mean like VOOOO. So it's a matter of VOO for as long as you can. So that's a tactic that you can kind of do in the car or do on the couch and, try to kick things on. So as we go on, number three reset your gut. As we mentioned, the vagus nerve connects through your gut and your brain, and that's known as the gut-brain axis. And it sends both physical and biochemical signals in both directions. And supporting your gut health and the balance of gut bacteria, also known as the microbiome, that really governs your digestive function, which in turn is impacted in your parasympathetic nervous system. So, when this entire nervous system governs your digestive function, it works in tandem with all of these other vagus nerve related microbiome, bacteria, everything in your intestinal tract. And so this healthy diet and healthy microbiome is definitely a way to increase your parasympathetic tone. So one of the ways, other than kind of eating healthy, that some people use to kind of keep their gut in check, is to take probiotics or drink, kombucha, prebiotic or probiotic type drinks. Um, they're not always tasty and sometimes full of a lot of sugar, but it's another kind of simple tactic from this top 10 list of things that you can do to kick on your vagus nerve stimulation. Number 4, sunlight. Oh, precious sunlight. It's an easy and key, almost daily routine to keep you healing. You think about it, the sun is the main source of energy on Earth, and sunlight powers pretty much everything on Earth, including healthy functioning of your body. So if you can, expose your skin, and I don't mean get a sunburn, and certainly sunscreen and SPF is important, but exposing your skin to sunlight for about 15 or 20 minutes a day can really help the functioning of your parasympathetic nervous system, um, particularly if it's in the morning. Morning sun brings about that vitamin D production that we all lack in hypermobility. And having more vitamin D properly regulating around our body is a particularly advantageous thing to do. And so if we think about our human cells, they need to get nourishment from food, but also remember sunlight is an essential nutrient for our cells to function properly, not only for vitamin D, but for, healthy circadian rhythms. And, if you haven't had your vitamin D levels checked by your doctor, it's an important measure to find out whether you're deficient because many zebras with hypermobile EDS are deficient there. And it's fairly simple to solve whether you sit in the sunlight a little bit or whether you take vitamin D supplements. So talk to your GP about that. Number 5 trick, laughter. They've always said laughter really is the best medicine. And one of the reasons is because it helps you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It creates movement in your face, your chest, your diaphragm, and stomach that naturally engages that autonomic nervous system to alter your breathing and your heart rate and your blood pressure just a little bit. And research studies suggest that laughter affects both the respiratory and cardiovascular systems and kicks on the parasympathetic, increases your heart rate variability, and releases, those happy hormones called endorphins throughout your body that can not only help with feeling better and kind of a sense of well-being, but can assist with pain relief. So, why wouldn't we do it? And remember that the vagus nerve extends down to the muscles within your face. So you can increase your vagal tone just by trying to relax the muscles of your face from being tight and uncomfortable and slightly turning up your lips. So if you can almost like force a tiny smile, this is another way that Dr. Stephen Porges calls, a way to practice turning on this branch of your social nervous system. And it kicks on your vagus nerve. So find a way to turn your frown upside down. All right, number 6, sleep on your right side. So sleep right helps your body relax, helps it kind of reposition, and another tool to stimulate your vagus nerve. And a recent medical study measures that your heart rate variability during sleep can be increased. And other research says that lying on your right side increases your heart rate variability and any parasympathetic activity more than any other sedentary function. So if you're stuck like me, lying down a lot because you don't feel good, try to turn over to your right hand side every once in a while and see if that can bring on a more natural state of calm. Number 7, Epsom salt baths. Those are an easy, affordable, accessible way to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Epsom salt is a naturally occurring mineral compound of magnesium and sulfate that can really enhance the detoxification capabilities of the body. It improves circulation and calms and almost sedates your nervous system by relaxing your muscles, reducing swelling and inflammation. And, for a few dollars, you can buy a giant bag of Epsom salt at the store, put, a cup or two into your warm bath, and allow yourself to soak for 10 or 20 minutes. And studies can show that magnesium that's then brought into your body through your open pores from the warm water can help calm anxiety, can help alleviate a little bit of depression symptoms because it's absorbed directly through your skin into your bloodstream when delivered in a warm bath. So you think about it, water is the optimal carrier for these minerals as your skin pores open. And it also allows it to flush out minerals and harmful toxins through your sweat glands. So it's a very simple, at home, affordable way to be able to do this kind of practice. And I don't know, we all have kind of a connective tissue disease. Did you know that your skin is the largest organ in the body? And it's the best way to eliminate toxins. So I make my Epsom salt a little bit funner in the bath. I put in some essential oils. I particularly like lavender. Or if I want to kind of energize myself, I try like maybe a citrus, like an orange or a lemon. But anything that you like can further enhance the experience. The other idea that I try to regularly do is to do a salt float at a float studio, which is where you're going into that, sort of like egg-like chamber or room that's filled with like 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. And you float in there for about an hour. And if you can get through the claustrophobic part, it can really help your chronic pain if you use it regularly. All right, so number 8, use your tongue like a paintbrush to paint the roof of your mouth. Now, if you're at home, you might be trying to do this. And just imagine like taking your tongue and sort of putting it towards the front where the front of your teeth are, and just gliding it along the top of the roof from your mouth, back and forth, back and forth. And because your vagus nerve is responsible for many of the muscles in the mouth, stimulating these muscles with your tongue on your palatal muscles on the roof of your mouth can also engage the vagus nerve and then in turn activate the nervous system. So number 9, neck massage and movement. If you're not fused like I am and restricted by movement, simply like rotating and turning your head right, left, or around in slow circles one way and then reversing in the other, or maybe taking your hands on the side of where like your carotid arteries are and doing a gentle rub on your neck. That's where your vagus nerve lives. And it helps stimulate the activity of the parasympathetic. So if you're not familiar with where to find it, you can find the place a couple of inches out from your collarbone. And then if you imagine using the back of your fingernails to sort of rake down your neck And what you're going to do is kind of gently rake the nerve downward through your neck. And this is where your vagus nerve is. You don't want to scratch yourself, obviously, but your vagus nerve is pretty accessible through the skin. And if you're not comfortable doing that, try neck rolls or bring your chin to your chest or roll your head around in a circle 3 to 5 times. Just getting some movement around, that vagus nerve. All right, number 10, my favorite, easiest, cheapest, no app, no prescription, no office visit required is, number 10, disciplined breathing. And I mean like deep and slow breathing that can stimulate your vagus nerve and activate your parasympathetic. It's one of the fastest ways we can influence our nervous system, especially when you're breathing deep into your belly or your diaphragm. And so when you breathe in, if you imagine whether you're seated or you're lying down, you place one hand on your heart or your chest and one on your belly. What you want to do is you want to be concentrating that the hand on your belly is sort of rising and falling, and that it's not the hand on your chest. You want your belly hand to kind of be rise and cave, rise and cave. And so the more that you're able to master doing that, the more you'll be able to like trick your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. It's great relief for pain. I run a mindfulness for pain for people with Ehlers-Danlos with the U.S. Pain Foundation and teach people about that. If you're interested, you can go to uspainfoundation.org and sign up. You have to register. And I do it every month. It's free and just teach you tricks. One of the tricks that I talk about is box breathing, which you may have heard. And that's simply where it's a technique that you do only for a few moments to sort of kick on your parasympathetic. But, you inhale for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 4, and then you exhale for a count of 4, and then hold for a count of 4. And the concept is that you're putting yourself into that rhythmic breathing. And sometimes, if you do that, even just 3 or 4 breaths, it can help you feel more under control. Another breathing method I teach is called the 4-7-8 breathing. And if you're interested in learning any more about this, you can Google box breathing or 4-7-8 breathing. And the 4-7-8, what it does is you're breathing in as it sounds for 4 seconds. You're holding it for 7, which seems like a long time when you're not used to this, and it can be challenging. And then you're exhaling for 8. But the whole goal, whether you do 4-7-8 or 4-6 or don't count, is the concept of elongating the length of the time that you exhale by a microsecond or even a second. So if you're finding yourself stressed, take a deep belly breath and exhale and kind of hang on, pushing out just a little bit further, because that's going to bring about more relaxation and parasympathetic activity. Because that slower, deep breathing improves oxygen saturation, lowers your blood pressure, and kicks on that parasympathetic mode. And that slow, rhythmic expansion of your lungs will signal to your heart to slow down. And that in turn sends a great feeling of calm over your nervous system. And the vagus nerve likes that. And so it starts signaling and releasing acetylcholine, which is a calming chemical. It's like you're giving yourself a shot of, natural Xanax, if you will. There's also a device that I've used and sometimes recommend, and no affiliation whatsoever, but it's an HRV wearable device that you can put on as a temporary, like 4 to 6 week, kind of like a heart monitor. And it's from Leaf Therapeutics. That's LIEF Therapeutics. And what it does is you go through a training program for several weeks, and it has an app connected to the monitor. And the monitor is going to pick up whenever you have levels of energy that are kind of like anxiety or stress or even anger and some of your emotions. And so it gives you a way to be able to train yourself to be able to pick up and become more self aware and self regulate so that you can understand your autonomic nervous system better with a method like biofeedback. And, they have an option where I think it's about $100. You use it for a few weeks and then you ship it back. They also have coaching if you need it, but it's pretty simply a short term method to learn how to self regulate just a little bit better. In my opinion, you know, learning these techniques about yourself is worth the investment of, a copay or two. Um, the other thing is also a subscription to apps like the Calm app, where they have biofeedback training, daily guided meditations, and other kind of topical areas that you can listen to help you focus your breathing. There's a meditation app called Insight Timer that's free. I personally like the sleep stories that are included in Calm because they can kind of rock me to sleep. The whole point is that being able to go the distance to get rid of feeling dissed, dismissed, disbelieved is really about disciplining yourself with simple healing habits. It's a way to have a little bit of control on your health trajectory, to get on a new path, to rewrite the script. And it's critical for you to focus on sticking to this regular self care and prioritizing that. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about going to get yourself your nails done. I'm talking about taking care, actual care of yourself, and whatever that means. If that means you need a nap, if that means you need more nutritious food or a little bit of gentle movement, it's whatever that you need in the moments that you need it and paying attention to it on a very regular basis, daily if you can. So I hope that you'll, try some of these polyvagal training exercises. It can help make a difference. And, I believe that we all have our own hero inside of us. And, you could be that person who makes a difference in your own wellness. You don't have to rely on a doctor or someone else, that you can really become the hero of your own life, change your trajectory. Because heroism is really about dealing with one moment more. And what audience of people doesn't deal with one moment more all the time? So you can do this. You can do hard things. And I hope you're ready. So here in a moment, I'm going to turn off the slides and talk to you a little bit about one of the other projects that I've been working on later. And if you're interested in providing a little feedback, if there's any questions or anything like that, let me stop sharing. I'm going to turn off the recording so people can ask questions. Just a second.